All right, welcome back. We're going to finish off the last three problems here in chapter 14. This is our 10-question quiz. And let me start with number 7. I've drawn the diagram that you see in your problem here. This is a classic kind of problem. What we're doing is we're going to compare a firm's situation and then the market situation. Remember, the firm has no control over price. It takes the price given to it in the market and then adjusts its own behavior accordingly. And I have to draw in its marginal cost curve and its average total cost curve. All right, so it's got a marginal cost curve like this, and it has an average total cost curve of this. All right. So again, this is an important kind of paradigm contrasting the firm's behavior given market situations. So what does it say to us? It says, assume the market starts in equilibrium A. So here's the market. This is the price at equilibrium A. And you can see it's an equilibrium for the firm as well. Why? Because price is equal to marginal cost, which is at the minimum of the average total cost. In other words, P equals MC, which our rule is, equals ATC. Let me write that down. So P equals MC equals ATC. This is a long-run situation. Why? Because the firm's not making above normal profits. There's no incentive for new firms to come into the market. There's also no incentive for this firm to leave. This is a stable situation. We go to the market. Here's our demand curve, D0. There's a supply curve, S0. This is our equilibrium in the market. The market sets the price. The firm adjusts the price and figures out what output it should produce. All right. Now, an increase in demand from D0 to D1. So in the market, for some reason, a change in preferences, whatever, the demand curve for this good shifts out. What's going to happen here? Okay. Well, we clearly know price is going to rise. Certainly it's going to go from A to B in the short run. Right? We can tell ourselves that. Let me continue with this. It says a new market equilibrium at point D. So when demand curve goes from D0 to D1, there's no way this firm's going to we're going to get a market equilibrium at D. That's clearly wrong. Price is rising. If anything, this firm is going to increase its output, which we'll talk about shortly. B, an eventual increase in the number of firms in the market and a new long-run equilibrium at point C. Well, that's a mouthful. A new long-run equilibrium at point C and eventually new firms coming into the market. Let's hold that one and keep going, all right? C, rising prices and falling profits for the existing firms. Rising prices, yes, I can see the price rises to B, but falling profits, no, I don't see falling profits. The reason is this. If price rises, and we'll call it up here, for example, let me do it with my red to keep consistent. Let's say this is where the price is. What's the firm going to do? The firm's going to set price equal to marginal cost, and this firm's going to produce more output. Not only that, at this level of output, where price equals MC here, we are greater than the average total cost. There's average total cost at that level of output. So now the firm is making serious money. It's making above normal returns because price exceeds average total cost. Okay, so C is definitely wrong. And let's go to D, falling prices and falling profits for existing firms. Well, no. We said the demand curve shifted from D0 to D1. That pushed up price. So falling prices are clearly out the window. Get rid of it. So let's go back and understand why B is the right answer. So B said this. It said an eventual increase in the number of firms in the market. So how did they get that? Well, what happens is this. Price goes up. Firm makes above normal profits. So what happens? So word gets out. This is a good industry. People making money, above normal returns. It causes new firms to enter. Well, what do new firms do? Go back to chapter 4 and 5. New firms cause the supply curve to shift out. The supply curve will keep shifting until it knocks the price back down to another equilibrium point. And why will it stop at point C? Because at point C, the price goes back to the original price P1. At that point, the firm is making zero economic profits. That is the equilibrating mechanism in these markets. Okay? Again, demand shifts, price rises, economic profits being made, firms come into the industry, supply curve shifts out, price gets pushed down. You'll hear it all the time on Wall Street. They say profits are squeezed. Profits are getting squeezed. Competition is squeezing profits. This is exactly what they're talking about. The increase in new firms coming in puts downward pressure on price, and where will it stop? It stops when the price gets back to this original point here, where this firm is back to making zero economic profits. At that point, there's no more incentive for any firm to come into the industry. We're now at a new equilibrium. Well, we've gone from A to B to C, all right? At C, there are more firms in the industry, yes, but they're all making zero economic profits. We've reached a new equilibrium. So, your answer to number 8 is B, and it's a hard one to see unless you get this whole market dynamic situation, that an eventual increase in the number of firms, that's what happens at point C, and a new long-run equilibrium, there we are at C again. Okay? So, that's number 8, but we're going to use this diagram to carry on, so let me push it ahead. It says, refer to figure 1414. Assume the market starts at equilibrium point A in panel B, and that panel A illustrates the cost curves facing the individual firm. So, the firm starts here, that's our panel B, and there are the cost curves in panel A, just as we had before. Which of the following statements is supposed demand increases from D0 to D1? Same thing. What's going to happen? Which of the following statements is correct? A, points A, B, and C represent both short-run and long-run equilibria. A, B, and C represent both short-run and long-run equilibria. Well, no. This is a long run. This is a long-run equilibria. This is a short run. Why is it a short run? The demand curve shifted out. Good news for the firm. Price rose. Good news for the firm. Price was above average total cost. Good for the firm, making above normal returns. But it's a short run situation because it can't stay that way. You can't keep making money hand over fist and not have other people compete with you. There are no barriers to entry in this particular industry, right? Anyone can enter if they want. There is very low cost entry. New firms enter, supply curve goes out. A and C are the long run equilibria. B is a short run equilibria. Therefore, A is wrong because it's not both long run and short run. It's only A and C are only long run situations. B, points A, B, and C, and D represent short run equilibria. No, A and C represent long run. D and B represent short run. So that's not going to work for us. Points A and B express long run equilibria. A and B, no. Again, B cannot be a long run situation because at B, the firms are making above normal profits. That will not exist forever. Wish it could, but it doesn't. Last one, D, points A and C represent long run equilibria. Yes, we started here. Remarkably, we get back to C at this price anyway. There are more firms in the industry, but everyone's making zero economic profits. A and C are at long run equilibria. The answer is D for number 9. All right, we have one more question in this group. Let's get to it, and then we're done chapter 14. Let's go. It says, refer to figure 1414. If the market starts in equilibrium C now we're going to start here at C in panel B, a decrease in demand will ultimately lead to, So now we're at C on this demand curve right here on D1, and now we're talking a decrease in demand. All right? So now the demand curve shifts in, and so now we see what? Well, in the short run, price falls to D. Well, bad news, okay? If price goes that low, what happens here? I'll draw something equivalent to that. All right? So price is over there at D. Here's our price right here. The firm goes to set price. Firms, again, will produce for price equal to marginal cost. Whoa, this is not a good thing, right? Why? Because at this level of output, we're going to call it Q star, this firm's price is below its average total cost. So it's losing money and serious money. This is a big loss. This is the per unit loss at Q star. So when demand shifts in, this is bad news. Price goes down, firms try to optimize by going to the place where price equals marginal cost, but they're losing money. What's going to happen in the long run? In the long run, this can't exist, right? You can't lose money in the long run. No one's going to lend you money. So what happens is the supply curve shifts back as firms exit the industry, right? The weak firms fall out, supply curve shifts back, and as the supply curve shifts back, price starts to rise. As price starts to rise, where will it go? Well, price will keep going up, all the way up, until it reaches again P1. At P1, we will stabilize, in which firms are making zero economic profits, but there'll be fewer firms. We've gone from a lot of firms producing this level of output in the market at C. We will have fewer firms producing at A, but they'll be making zero economic profits at a price of P1. So let's see what our answers are. It says A, more firms in the industry, but lower levels of output for each firm. They're saying, so when you go from D1 to D0, you have more firms in the industry? Forget about it. Wrong answer. Fewer firms in the market. In the long run, yes, but let's keep going. C, a new long-run equilibrium at point D in panel B. A new long-run equilibrium at point D. No, D is not a long-run equilibrium. It is a short-run equilibrium. When the demand curve shifts back, price gets knocked down here. This is a short-run scene. Why? Because so many firms are losing money, they start to fall out of the industry. That is the short-run situation. And look at D, lower prices once the new long-run equilibrium is reached. The new long-run equilibrium is going to be reached at point A. At that point, price is going to actually go back to the same price that existed at C. Now, I know people sometimes find that remarkable, but that is true. Because in the short run, firms get pushed out of the industry, the supply curve shifts back, that raises price, and we get back to this point of zero economic profits where there's no more any incentive for firms to enter and exit the industry. That'll be the long-run equilibrium. So our answer for that one has to be fewer firms in the market. Because when you go from A to C, right, every firm in the market is still making zero economic profits, but because the output in the market has fallen, we need fewer firms to produce that level of output. So the answer is B. And that's kind of subtle, but very, very important. And this kind of diagram is something you're definitely going to see on the final exam because it's so important to understanding market structure. Just essential. All right. So that kind of summarizes Chapter 14 pretty effectively. We, again, have emphasized both market structure in a competition and the firm in a competitive market. This is a kind of essential material because we're now going to move on to monopoly, in which we're going to have simply a single firm producing, and their profit maximizing output is going to be different than clearly it is in a firm in perfect competition. We'll contrast the two, and then we'll go to oligopoly and try to round out the industry that we've talked about, from perfect competition to monopoly on the two poles, and then the real world somewhere in between there. Okay? So again, very important chapter, very detailed chapter. I'll see you next time for Chapter 15. Thanks, and I hope this is useful. Bye-bye.